it's pending, and then it'll start really quickly. You can see how this tool can be used to collect different data and run your experiments. So it gives you a nice way to run different things.
Thank you to AWS and AWS Club Pilipinas.
Applications today are increasingly complex. The cloud has turbocharged the pace at which companies can develop and deploy new features. However, any mistake in the chain, from writing and deploying new code to monitoring performance, can degrade customer experience, drive up costs, or interrupt service entirely. Companies pour time and money into creating custom DevOps tools and alarms, only to fall victim to the limitations of these systems. When an anomaly occurs, most IT teams have to manually sift through terabytes of data to locate the issue. This leads to critical mistakes going unnoticed. What if there was a better way to find and fix operational problems? Introducing Amazon DevOps Guru. DevOps Guru gives you an easy way to improve application availability using pre-trained machine learning models informed by years of Amazon.com and AWS operational excellence to detect critical operational issues.
Good evening. Day. 안녕하세요.
Leveraging AWS's powerful infrastructure, DevOps Guru collects, analyzes, and correlates operational data, such as metrics, logs, and events, to identify behaviors that deviate from normal patterns. DevOps Guru then alerts you of urgent operational risks, provides a summary of possible causes, and recommends solutions for remediation, saving valuable debugging time. DevOps Guru also offers a single console experience where you can visualize issues in your operational data in your AWS cloud and sort events by severity, ensuring your alerts are always prioritized to the most pressing needs. Best of all, DevOps Guru requires no previous machine learning or DevOps experience. It automatically analyzes data from your existing AWS account and adapts to evolving system architecture, so you don't have to worry about manual updates. With just a few simple clicks in the AWS Management Console, DevOps Guru can begin analyzing your application activity. Don't waste another moment manually digging through data. Detect and solve problems with Amazon DevOps Guru and keep your applications running smoothly. For more information, visit our website.
Are you working on projects or making decisions that require understanding cloud fundamentals and benefits? The AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner certification validates foundational cloud knowledge, including how the cloud impacts your business, core AWS services and use cases, billing and pricing models, and security concepts. Demonstrate your cloud fluency by achieving an industry-recognized credential from AWS. Highlight your proficiency and be a part of your organization's cloud adoption from any role. AWS Certified. Build with confidence, competence, and credibility.
The DevOps course is meant to introduce students to the DevOps practice, the DevOps methodology. What is it? What tools are incorporated? It's really the concept of people, process, and technology. I think my favorite module for this course is Infrastructure as Code. It's focused heavily on CloudFormation, which is a tool that enables users to deploy, provision, and maintain their quote-unquote infrastructure on AWS. I have about 18 months of formal training experience. Prior to that, about 16 years in the IT industry, most recently working as a DevOps engineer, helping customers implement and mature their DevOps practice. I had a great how to do things right and how to not do things so well. So some great learning opportunities, and that's experience that I bring to the classroom with me to help students to fully understand the DevOps practice.
Welcome back to another episode of the Community Ignite series. Let's give it up for Sir Rafael Kasambi.
So my talk is basically trending. What are the AWS cloud services and how to become a cloud practitioner? 80% of these enterprises use Amazon Web Services as their primary cloud platform. Now, AWS is notorious, I would say infamously notorious for having so many services. So popular AWS services or core AWS services that you must master. This is the VPC or Virtual Private Cloud. Okay? And what is compute? It's basically transformation of data. Okay? You need a computer to transform data. Okay? It's a EC2 or your Elastic Compute Cloud. So in the cloud, in AWS, this is called AWS Simple Storage Service. This is monitoring our resources. So it's our meter in a sense.
This is co-presented by Amazon Web Services and AWS Cloud Pilipinas. Hello, good evening to all. It's the first Thursday of the month and I hope you guys are as much excited as we are. So this is the 30th episode of the Community Ignite series. Grabe, ang bilis, and I'm so glad that we'll get to celebrate the 30th episode together. Kaya naman, welcome guys, and today we're gonna learn all about improving DevOps. Shout out kay Ferdinand. Na-distract ako sa'yo. Ulit. We're gonna learn all about improving DevOps with infrastructure as code, IAC in short. And we're also gonna know all about getting started with AWS CDK. So I'm your host for tonight, Darla David, a technical community manager of Education PH, and I am so happy to see you guys all again. And I'm so happy. So kaya nga, thank you for taking the time to attend this free 1-hour tech-driven webinar. Ayan. So before we continue, I would like to greet everyone a happy Women's Month! Woohoo! So shout out sa ating beautiful ladies tonight. Nandito ba kayo, mga beautiful ladies? Shout out naman dyan. Pakilala naman sa ating chat. So this month is dedicated to recognizing women, highlighting their present contributions to the society, and commemorating the many significant roles women have played throughout history. So if you're a student, let me know. Ayan na. Pakita nyo na sa akin mga university nyo. Ayan. Let me know if you're a student. Let me know what university you're from. Pag professional naman, type your career in the chat box. I would also like to greet din our FB Live viewers over there. So comment nyo rin, pakilala rin kayo. Don't forget to share rin sa inyong timeline yung FB Live. So the first person I would like to give a shout out to is Joe Verdan Buhi from Universidad de Manila. We also have Paloma from LC. Hello. Ayan, naka-all caps pa. Shout out kay Ferdinand Uy from Universidad de Manila. We also have Joshua from University of Caloocan City. So if you're new here, thank you guys. Just keep the chat coming up. Bakit stop? Come on, let me know who you are. Again, also, if you're new here, Community Ignite series are short episodes every Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m., where we bring people, product, and purpose together. So you, as a young IT professional or early in your career, or you're just young at heart or starting in the tech industry, you will definitely benefit from this series, especially that this is co-presented by Amazon Web Services and AWS Cloud Pilipinas. Is over here. So this event is all for free, and it also comes with an e-certificate. At syempre, naka-state yung 6 to 7 p.m. So sa mga requirement ko, huwag kayong mag-alala, naka-state naman kung ilang oras ang webinar. So hello ulit kay Jessa, kay Eugene, kay Hamad, kay Mark, kay Jobel from New Era University, kay Micaela, and kay Myong Han. Did I pronounce that right? Ayan, so in the previous episode, the topic was all about trending AWS cloud services and tips on how to be a practitioner. So you can also check it out on our social media accounts. So make sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn to stay updated. So search nyo lang AWS Cloud Pilipinas, or you can scan the QR codes flashed on the screen over here. So hello again. Kay Michael Curray. Ayan, shout out sa'yo, Michael. Hello rin kay Jessa from Data Center College of the Philippines, Lawag. We also have Marifine from Bicol University. Greetings then over there. So hello again to our 152 participants here in Zoom, and also to our FB Live viewers. Representing LPU Cavite is Cal Atienza. Hello, Justin Martinez from LSPU SCC. And alright, before introducing our speaker, I would like to remind everyone to keep your mics muted. Para smooth ang ating program for today. I would first like to introduce our topic for today also. So, ano ba? Ano bang meron today? Okay, what are we gonna talk about? So, we're gonna talk about, again, getting started with AWS CDK and AWS Cloud Development Kit. So, ano yun yung CDK, Cloud Development Kit. So, ano ba yon? It lets you define your cloud infrastructure as code in one of its supported programming languages. So, it is intended for moderately to highly experienced AWS users. So get ready to improve DevOps with IAC and using AWS CDK with our speaker today. Ayan, so get ready to, ayan na pala. So he is, our speaker for tonight is a prototyping architect, wow, from Amazon Web Services in Aisnian. So over the past 15 years, he's led software development projects for enterprises, startups, and government agencies in Australia, New Zealand, the US, and the Philippines. Nako, ang speaker natin tonight ay Mr. Worldwide. So, chat naman kayo guys if ready, if handa na kayo malaman kung sino ang speaker natin for tonight. Come on. Where's the energy? Ayan, ready si Ferdinand. How about the others? Si Ferdinand lang ready for tonight. How about the rest of our participants going up? 166 participants. Ayan, ready. Ayan, sila Harvey, sila Michaela, si Mark. Alright, ayan. Let us all give a round of applause to Sir Richard Neil Ilagan, aka Sir Carding. Hello, Sir Carding. How are you tonight? How are you feeling?
Mabuhay.
Ang bongga.
Hindi ko matapatan yung energy mo, Darl.
No, I'm sure kahit hindi mo matapat yung energy ko, ready sila magbigay ng energy to you, Sir Richard. Kaya naman, Sir, take it away.
All right. Simulan ko lang mag-share ng screen kasi parati ko nakakalimutan mag-share ng screen. So siguraduhin ko lang muna na ma-share ko na muna yung screen ko. Teka lang. All right, good to go. So, salamat everyone. Thank you for attending this week's episode of CIS. Sabi nga ni Ate Darla, we'll be talking about the AWS CDK. Particularly, we'll talk about the AWS CDK, the AWS Cloud Development Kit. As part of this concept, as part of this, you can think of it as parang field of technology called infrastructure as code. So, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, very, very short, is ano nga ba ang infrastructure as code, IAC? Ano yun? Bakit siya importante? What benefits does it do? Tapos, from there, we'll go into some of the, I guess, the fundamental concepts. Yung mga basics lang. AWS CDK 101. How do you get started? How do you start building with AWS CDK? What can you do with AWS CDK? Tapos, we'll top it off with some live coding. So, last episode ko dito, I wasn't doing any coding. I think this is the first time I'll be doing some live coding sa CIS. So, hopefully nothing goes wrong, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. Towards the end then, hopefully may enough time for a bit of Q&A just in case you have questions. Kung meron kayong questions, just throw them into the chat. Babalikan natin yun mamaya. So if you have any questions, don't be shy. No stupid questions at all. Just pop them in the chat and we'll go back to them. Okay? Cool. I don't think I see the chat anyway. Oh, yes, I do. There we go. So tabi natin dito yan. Cool. Perfect. Game. All right. So, sino sa just a very, very quick private feel lang sa mga na-attendees natin ngayon. Sino sa inyo ang nakasubok ng mag-build ng isang system, nakapag-program na ng isang system, or nakapag-deploy na ng web application, nakapag-start na ng server, or nakagawa na ng API, mga ganun. Pwede bang makita lang sa chat, like very, very quickly lang? So I'm assuming a lot of people kasi a lot of people here in today CIS wala pa masyadong wala pa masyadong huge programming experience, and that's fine. That's okay. One of the things kasi na you have to realize as a programmer, as an engineer, right? Especially kahit ako nung nagsisimula ako mag-program, gumawa ng mga bagay-bagay, gumawa ng mga websites, mga ganun. Most people start with coding. Marunong ka mag-code, natututo ka mag-code. Pero eventually, at some point, you will have to start thinking about how exactly does your system run? How does it run optimally in a good way. Anong kailangan mong gawin so that when your app encounters problems, kumbaga, it will fail safe or it will adjust, it will keep on running, and so on and so forth, right? As an engineer, as a programmer, as a coder, it's not just about coding. Hindi lang tayo nagsusulat ng code eh. We also have to think about ano yung itsura ng app mismo. How is it designed? Right? A lot of you may not be at that point yet, and that's fine. Pero eventually, you will have to do that. Ang inisip ko is, for example, let's give an example, di ba? I'm thinking, a lot of you may already have experience deploying WordPress. Di ba? May siguro gumawa ng blog. Ganyan. I want to start a blog. So, sige, I will run WordPress siguro. Kukuha ko ng isang server somewhere. I will install PHP on it. Tapos, I'll start maybe a MySQL database on it, MySQL database on it. Tapos, papatakbuhin ko lang WordPress. Good. Fine and dandy. Di ba? Pero, from that point, ngayon, marirealize mo na, okay, dun sa iisang machine, dun sa iisang server, tumatakbo yung WordPress ko tsaka yung database ko. Paano ko mag-crash yung isa? Di ba, bagsak din yung database. Di ba? Sabay sila kasi pareho. So, siguro isa sa mga optimizations na pwede mong gawin, ihihiwalay mo. Di ba? May database ka, may WordPress ka. Pag dumadami yung traffic mo dun sa site mo, kailangan mo ng mas maraming compute. So, pwede mong padamihin. Kailangan mo lagyan ng load balancer. Kailangan mo lagyan ng shared file system, and so on and so forth. So, ang point is, even the simplest systems will need some form of architecture. Meron siyang, if you're building something that you want to be able to run in an optimal manner, right? In a good manner, in a reliable manner, you have to be able to design some form of architecture that will, do that. Again, okay lang kahit hindi pa kayo marunong na. That's not the point. Pero ang point is, now, when you do get to that point na, okay, kailangan ko ng architecture, di ba? How do I make use of that? How do I use the architecture, the design, in an efficient manner? Paano ko to magamit, as easily as possible, di ba? Para hindi lang siya drawing somewhere on a page. Like for example, I'll show you some architectures ng mga ginawa kong projects in the past year. Okay, mabilis lang. This is an architecture ng isang system that forecasts kung may magda-downtime na site somewhere based on weather, right? This is an architecture of something that calculates the optimal price of items sa isang store. Like madami ako binibenta. Ano yung tamang price for each para kumikita pa rin ako pero hindi pa masyadong mahal para sa mga bumibili. Diba? Ito yung ginagawa kong project ngayon. It's an architecture of IoT. So marami akong mga ganitong devices that talk to AWS, kinokollect ko, tapos I create insights and analytics to ganun. Ngayon, hindi importante na komplikado yung mga architecture. Ang importante is ngayong meron kang system, meron kang design for that system. Meron kang mga pira-piraso na itong piraso na ito talks to that piece, to that service, to that, API, and so on and so forth, di ba? How do you maintain it? Paano kung meron ka ng version 1, tapos gagawin mo ng version 2? How do you do that? How do you audit? How do you keep track? How do you review? How do you deploy? How do you... Ang dami, di ba? Maraming mga tanong. Like, hindi sapat na nako-code mo yung app. Lalo na sa mga DevOps practitioners. Para sa mga DevOps practitioners, hindi talaga sapat na gagawa mo yung app. Kailangan alam mo rin the best way to deploy that app and in the right architecture, in the right design, di ba? So ngayon, for example, provided na meron tayong ganitong architecture, how do I make sure na I'm deploying this architecture, na hindi ako nagkakamali somewhere, na hindi pala cognito yung na-deploy ko dyan, o kulang pala yung permissions na ginawa ko dito sa IoT device management, or mali yung API gateway na ginawa ko, HTTP dapat, ginawa ko GraphQL, and so on and so forth. Di ba? Maraming mga ganong bagay. So oras na meron na tayong design, meron na tayong architecture, how do we make the most use of it? More specifically, ang mga importante sa akin dito, oras na meron ka ng design, how do you make it repeatable? Kung sakaling kinabukasan, pagising mo, yung buong mong system nawawala na. Wag naman sana, di ba? Kung nawawala na yung buong system mo, how do you deploy everything again as quickly as possible? How do you recover, for example, from a disaster like that? How do you make sure na nakakabago lang ng design nyo o ng deployment nyo o ng infrastructure nyo are the right people, yung mga may permissions lang to do so, and so on and so forth. Diba? One of the best ways to do that, to all of that, na sinabi ko pa lang, is this idea of infrastructure as code. So ang idea lang ng infrastructure as code is that yung buong architecture, yung pinakita ko sa inyo architecture kanina, like for example, ito ulit, diba? Yung buong architecture na yan can be represented as some form of code, whether JSON or YAML or TOML or some other kind of language. Basta ang point is, infrastructure as code means you can describe architecture as some form of code. Diba? Now, you might have heard of something like AWS, yung CloudFormation, diba? Kasi CloudFormation is a way to do infrastructure as code. You can describe your architecture as YAML files or JSON files. Yeah, Terraform sa chat, sabi ni Ross. Terraform is also a way to do infrastructure as code. Define mo ano-ano yung mga piraso ng infrastructure, ano-ano yung piraso ng systems, how do they talk to each other, who talks to what, ano yung permissions na bawat isa, and so on and so forth. Para you have all these files na you can just deploy. Ibibigay mo lang sa AWS CloudFormation, ito yung mga architecture ko, ito yung code, deploy na. Para hindi ikaw yung isa-isang nagde-deploy ng mga bagay-bagay. Right? And CloudFormation will make sure na it deploys in the right configuration, in the right order, and so on and so forth, right? Pero that's nice, and it's beneficial. It's nice. It's good. It's it's a good thing. Pero the thing is, it's not very it's very difficult to maintain those kinds of files. Yung traditional na infrastructure as code. Kasi imagine mo, ang dami mong mga files na mga JSON files lang ng bawat service na ginagamit mo. Diba? Tapos you have to make sure na it's correctly formatted and so on and so forth. Diba? So that's really where the AWS CDK comes into play. Kasi ang AWS CDK or yung AWS Cloud Development Kit, it's also infrastructure as code. Right? Pero instead of just flat files like YAML, JSON, or declarative files like that, you use a real programming language na malamang marunong na kayo. Diba? Malamang marunong na kayo mag-TypeScript or JavaScript or Python or Java or C#. Malamang may mga ilan sa inyo marunong mag-Go. Diba? Marunong na, at kung hindi kayo marunong ng mga language na yun, malamang marunong kayo ng ibang language na madali nang ma-pick up para sa inyo yung ibang mga language na to. Diba? So AWS, ang pinagkaiba ng AWS CDK, and I think what really makes it special is that you can use normal programming languages, like malamang marunong na kayo, yung mga sanay na kayong programming languages, to build and describe your infrastructure, your system, your architecture. Diba? That's what the AWS CDK is. I'll show you a few examples mamaya, pero one of the things na characteristic ng AWS CDK is that it's also object-oriented. So kung familiar kayo with OOP, like a lot of object-oriented languages, C#, for example, Java, then it's very easy to pick up. Yung mga natutunan nyo with classes, instances, mga ganyan, they will translate very, very easily to the CDK. Kasi ganoon din naman yun. Right? So kung marunong ka marunong ka mag-OOP, marunong ka mag-object-oriented programming, it's pretty easy to pick up the AWS CDK. So before we go into what that actually looks, ito lang yung idea. These are the basic ideas behind the CDK. So if you're going to be working with the CDK, you're going to be working with at least three things, right? There's apps, there's stacks, and there's constructs. So yung app, madali lang yan. That's your system, kumbaga. So kung may dinideploy ka na isang malaking system, that's probably your app. Isang malaking system, right? Inside of your app, you'll have different stacks. Tapos yung stacks mo, you can really define it any way you want. Pero
is basically trending.
Semantically, ang isang stack is just a logical section you want of a system. I'll give you an example, ma'am. Semantically, and then constructs are just just a logical the components inside the stacks. Yung mga Lego pieces that you put together to make a stack, make it work. Kumbaga, right? So kung babalikan natin yung example ko kanina, ito yung simple WordPress. We have servers here running WordPress. They're behind a load balancer, diba? And we have a database here, and we have a file system here, right? So very, very simple. You can think of this as an app, entire app, diba? Then you can probably split it into stacks like this. So meron kang server stack, which is yung stack mo made up of all the servers that run your WordPress with a load balancer, siguro. And then you have your data store stack, which is everything that's related to your data. So that's your database, that can be your file system, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of split that logically like that. That's totally up to you, right? Inside each stack, you're made up of components. So meron kang load balancer component, meron kang servers, components, diba? And so on and so forth. So you can kind of break it up. Bahala ka, kumbaga. So up to you how you split everything up. So far, so good. So yun lang yun. If you're working with the AWS CDK, it's just, yun yung lang matatandaan niya. AWS CDK, it's just infrastructure as code, pero using a fluent programming language, diba? Tapos you're working with apps, stacks, and constructs. Yun lang yan. An app, stacks inside, constructs inside. Right? So far, so good. Okay. Remember, if you have questions, pop them in the chat lang, okay? So what we're gonna do now is I'll show you how you can actually work with the CDK, and I'll show you some examples. Cool. So I'm gonna be using TypeScript since I work fastest with TypeScript. But up to you if you want to use a different language, for example. I'll show you some of the basics, easy enough to translate into your choice of language. Okay? So to start with the AWS CDK, kailangan. So I'm just in my terminal. So I don't know if you're comfortable working with a terminal, pero on the terminal, that's really where you start with CDK. So oras na andito ka na sa terminal, the first thing you have to do is you have to install the CDK, right? To be able to use the CDK, you have to install the CDK. So you can normally just say npm install AWS CDK. So the CDK runs on top of Node, pero you can use other programming languages to work with it, right? So na-install ko na yung CDK sa system na to. So yun lang yung kailangan nyo gawin. To check it, pwede nyo namang gawin ng ganyan. CDK version. So I have the 2.15 version of it. Right? Okay. For everyone in the chat na nakapag-start na ng coding before, right? So easy enough to start a project. I'll just create a directory for it. Let's say, CIS workshop. Inaagaw ni Zoom parati yung ano ka. Wait lang ha. Yung focus ka. Okay. All right. So dito tayo sa loob ng directory nito. To get started with the CDK project, di ba meron na tayong CDK? Yan. So all I have to do is CDK init. Yung CDK init mismo, meron siyang three options. You can start with an app or a lib, or a sample app. Kung gusto mo ng parang full-fledged example of how you want to see how that works. So on your own machine, if you want to do this when you have free time, you can try the sample app. Makikita mo how everything works. Meron na siyang parang sample template. But for now, let's just do CDK init app. Whoa, why is Zoom like this? So CDK init app. Tapos I want to pick a language. So ang language na pipiliin ko is TypeScript. Right there, you can see na pwede kang pumili ng mga yan. Right, so up to you if you want to use different languages for that. And then I just like to add this generate only para hindi siya mag-install right away. So that's all you need. CDK init app, pick a language. Tapos that's really all you need. Dinadagdag ko lang to for myself. Up to you if you want to do that too. Right? What you get with that is, open ko na sa Visual Studio Code, is this file system. So meron kang it's just an npm. Oops, let me zoom that in for you. So it's just a node project kasi TypeScript ako, di ba? So it's just a node project. Meron na siyang ginawa dito for me. Yung configuration ko ng CDK would be here sa CDK JSON na file. Most of the time, you don't have to change anything here. Basta good to know lang na andyan yung configuration, right? I think the most important part here is ito. So itong line na to, that's what dictates ano yung tumatakbo when you use the CDK. So makikita nyo dyan, it's cisworkshop.ts. So that's here in bin, right there. So if you open that, buburahin ko ta kasi hindi kailangan right now. Oops, nabura ko. Masyado maraming binura ko. So, there. Okay? Ito lang yung itsura ng ito lang yung itsura ng CDK project. So, meron kang, when you start with a CDK project, meron kang entry point file. So, entry point file would be ano yung nakasulat sa CDK JSON mo. Diyan, yung app mo. Ayan, di ba? Apps, stacks, constructs. So, dito lang siya. Right? Ang pinaka-importante dyan na line would be ito. Kasi gumagawa siya ng isang app. From there, that's your starting point. You have an app, you then add stacks into it. Right? So pwede kang gumawa ng as many stacks as you want. Tapos add mo lang into that app. Tapos CDK will take care of deploying everything for you. So let me show you how that works. Buburahin ko muna to. Oops. Yan, ito kasi yung mga default. So buburahin ko muna ha. Tapos papakita ko sa inyo from the start how that, para makita nyo exactly how something is done. Install ko na rin muna yung dependencies ko kasi nagre-reklamo siya dito. Okay? So, again, TypeScript, right? Entry point mo is this file. The first thing the CDK does is you create an app right there, right? From there, you then add stacks. So create tayo ng stack. Like for example, let's do something simple. Let's create an S3 bucket. Diba? So just a bit of an example. Kung gusto mong gumawa ng S3 bucket, I'll show you how you do that normally. Pupunta ka sa AWS console. You go to S3 over here. Right? Tapos, dito sa buckets, you can then create a bucket, dyan. Give it a name. Pick a region, blah, 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 blah. So if you haven't done, if you haven't created an S3 bucket before, ito yung mga kailangan mong gawin to do that. Yung mga configurations niya, even advanced settings down here if you want to. Tapos, create a bucket lang dito. Tapos, boom, you'll have an S3 bucket. So let's do that, pero from the CDK. Let's do the same thing, pero from the CDK. Diba? So balik tayo dito sa Okay? So, let's say, gusto kong gumawa ng S3 bucket. The first thing I do is make sure na meron akong stack na paglalagyan ng bucket. So, what I normally do is dito sa live folder, I do a folder of called stacks. Tapos maglalagay lang ako doon, sabihin kong bucket, my buckets. Like that. Right? Tapos, your stack, like I said, it's just object-oriented. So, your stack is a class, buckets stack. Sorry, nag-gulo ni Zoom dito sa machine ko. Okay. So, yan, isang class lang siya, bucket stack. To say na stack to in the CDK, you have to make sure that your class extends a stack. So parang general OP lang, di ba? Inside your project, you should already have this library. Yan yung core CDK library. Most everything you need for the CDK is nandyan. One of the things you can get from that is yung class ng stack. Like that. Right? So far, so good. The next thing you have to do is you have to give it a constructor. Siyempre. Ang constructor mo is like that. And then one last thing, you have to call the parent constructor. Kaya super. Diba? If you're familiar with how that works. Pero generally, ganyan lang siya. One very last thing you have to do is you have to make sure na you export that kasi gagamitin natin yung mamaya. Okay? Ganyan lang yung isang stack. So that's how a stack, the simplest stack looks like. So ngayon, back here, dito sa entry point natin, if you remember, paano natin gagamitin yung stack na to? Remember, we have an app. All the apps have stacks inside. And then all the stacks have constructs, right? So dito sa entry point, we have an app. Import natin yung kagagawa lang natin na bucket stack. Oops, that's not it. Woo, there we go. Ooh, this is irritating na. Okay. How do you once you've imported that, new bucket stack, like that. Tapos, you just feed it the scope, which is an app, di ba? Kasi stack has to belong to an app, object-oriented, di ba? And then you give it an ID. So, my bucket stack. So far, so good? Ganun lang. So, if you look at this, ito lang yung nangyayari dito. You're creating an app. This is your system, di ba? Oh, this is your system. Sorry, can you not annotate on my screen, please? Sorry, nakikita ko rin. So, all right. So, meron kang app. Then you create a stack like this. Tapos you give the app like here. Nakukuha ng stack dito sa scope. And then the CDK takes care of everything. So, nalalaman niya na itong stack na ginawa mo, it belongs to this particular app, right? Now, we get to the point where we can now create constructs or we can create stuff on AWS mismo. So, let's create an S3 bucket. Dito mismo sa sa core library na to, all of the AWS services that are supported by the AWS CDK are available dito mismo sa library. So for example, if you wanted to create an S3 bucket, normally we just have to import that part of the CDK. So pare as S3 from AWS CDK. Whoa, what is happening? Live S3 there. So yung core library na to, it includes mga services like this: S3, EC2, DynamoDB, and so on and so forth. So kadalasan, kung ano man yung kailangan mong gamitin sa AWS, it's already there on the library. So now, if we want to create a bucket, it's as easy as programming, di ba? New S3 bucket. Tapos, like a stack, we have to give sino yung saang stack na bibilong itong construct na to. So this is a bucket. This belongs in the bucket stack, which is currently this, di ba? And then we can give this a name, like my bucket. Right? Sorry, hold on. There we go. Okay. Ayan. So this is how you create things. The simplest thing. We have to create an app, and then we have to create a stack, diba? And then inside that stack, we create constructs. A construct can be like an AWS service, for example, and so on and so forth. Right now, we're just creating a bucket. So what we can do now is paano natin gagamitin yung ginawa natin? Right? How do we deploy? It's as easy as yarn CDK deploy. So pag ginawa mo yan, titingnan ng CDK yung code mo. It will, kumbaga, quote unquote, it will compile it to the right cloud formation, to the right infrastructure as code, to the right format para maintindihan ni AWS yung gusto mong i-deploy. Tapos it will deploy it for you. So ngayon, kung nakikita niyo yung screen ko, you'll see na it's creating a stack sa CloudFormation. Tapos after that, it's creating a bucket kasi nakita niya na I want to create a bucket, di ba? Tapos it understands all of that from what I'm doing, from my code. So, bantayan lang natin ng konti ito. If I go back to here, there we go. Done na yung deployment, di ba? So if I refresh this, there is my bucket right there. Yung nakita niya, may bucket stack, may bucket na ganyan. So, nakagawa na ako ng isang bucket on AWS using the CDK. Di ba? Very, very simple lang. Ngayon, one thing you might have noticed is yung name niya, it's very mangled. Di ba? It's kakaiba. Ganun. Normally, ginagawa yan to make sure na your resources don't have the same name as other resources. Para lang wala kayong conflicts, wala kayong collisions. Pero, you can also, for a lot of different services, you can also provide properties of your own. Ang ginagawa nito is nitong new S3 bucket. Diba? If you remember kanina, we tried creating S3 bucket manually. Di ba maraming configuration? So nasaan yung configuration dito? Bakit hindi na natin ginawa? Di ba? Sabi lang natin, gawa tayo ng S3 bucket. Tapos yun lang. Di ba? So isa sa mga magandang bagay with the CDK is that a lot of the constructs have very, very same defaults. So meron, kung hindi mo ibigay yung configuration, si CDK na mismo yung nagbibigay ng default. Either because siya yung default that makes sense, siya yung default value that makes sense, or siguro with security in mind lang. Kung katulad ng ganon, katulad ng nakita nyo kanina, yung pangalan ng bucket, kakaiba. Kasi we want to make sure na sobrang liit ng chance na meron kayong kapareho ng pangalan ng bucket. Diba? Pero, the nice thing about this is, kung gusto mo ring ikaw magbigay ng property mo or configuration mo, you can override. So the way to override that is, bibigay ka dito ng pangalawang, bigyan na lang natin ng second example. So kumari, gagawa ko ng pangalawang bucket. Di ba? So kung gagawa ko ng pangalawang bucket, maglalagay lang ako ng pangalawang code. Di ba? Pangalawang linya ng code. Pero itong bucket na to, bigyan natin ng ibang pangalan. Gusto kong ako magdikta ng pangalan. So, I can give it a bucket name. Sabihin natin, CIS Workshop Bucket. Right? So, ngayon, ang ginawa ko, in-update ko yung code. Nagdagdag ako ng pangalawang bucket. So, itong buong CDK na to, I changed it. Dinagdagan ko ng isang bagong bucket. Itong bucket na to, na pangalawa, special dahil binibigay ko yung pangalan mismo. Hindi ko sinasabi na mag-generate ka ng sarili mo. Meron akong gustong pangalan. Right? So, let's try that. Ngayon, if you've already deployed sa CDK before, one really nice thing you can do is you can ask it, kung i-deploy ko yung current code ko ngayon, ano ang different? Ano ang pinagkaiba niya sa currently naka-deploy doon? Kasi meron akong naka-deploy na sa cloud, di ba? Meron akong code sa machine ko na malamang binago ko, di ba? So ano yung bago? Ano yung mag-deploy? Ano yung mga magbabago? May mga mag-delete ba? May mga mag-create ba? May mga ma-rename ba? And so on and so forth, right? So what you can do is you can ask it, CDK diff. Tapos, pag gagawin niya, titingnan niya yung code mo, titingnan niya yung nasa cloud na, kasi i-compare niya. Like, ito yung pinagkaiba nito dalawa. So, makikita mo na pag nag-diff ka, sabihin niya, mag-a-add ako ng isang bagong bucket. Itong my other bucket. Kasi wala pa yan doon sa cloud. Yung isang bucket andun na eh. So, hindi ko na i-deploy yun. Kumbaga. Hindi ko na i-deploy. Wala namang pagkakaiba. Wala namang change to sa unang bucket. Papabayaan ko lang yan. Kebs. Yung pangalawang bucket, this is completely new. So, i-deploy ko. So, when I do that, i-deploy ko ulit, alam na niya na ang kailangan ko lang i-deploy is yung pangalawang bucket. Wala na akong gagawin doon sa unang bucket. Right? So, hintay lang natin mag-deploy yan. So, anytime you have a change doon sa infrastructure mo, like kunwari, binago mo yung configuration ng unang bucket mo kanina, smart enough si CDK to know ano yung kailangan mangyari. What are the changes that have to happen to make that happen? Right? So, hindi mo na kailangan ikaw mismo yung manual change sa AWS console na ganito dapat yung mangyari, ganito yung configuration. Right? So, hintayin lang natin ito matapos. Cool. Okay. Ngayon, na-deploy na yan. So, balik tayo dito sa AWS console ko. Pag na-refresh ko yan, meron na akong dalawang bucket. Ito yung unang bucket ko kanina. Right? Diba? Ito yung unang bucket ko kanina. Ito yung pangalawang bucket. Pansin nyo, meron siyang explicit na pangalan kasi binigyan ko siya. Diba? So, may mga ganun. So, yung mga constructs in the CDK, remember, ito yung app, ito yung stack, ito yung stack, ito yung constructs, itong S3.bucket, S3.bucket, right? Yung mga constructs, you can provide properties to them then so that you can, change stuff. So, kumare, yung bucket, if you want to, magandang example dito, if you wanted to enable encryption, pwede mo sabihin anong encryption configuration mo, etc., etc. If you have that kind of need. Diba? So far, so good. So, yun lang yun, that's really the simplest way the CDK works. You have apps, you have stacks like this, and then you have constructs. Nag-create ka na ng mga pira-piraso, Lego pieces mo inside the stack. So, my bucket stack is made up of multiple buckets. Lahat ng mga S3 buckets na kailangan ko. So far, so good. Okay? Cool. Sagutin ko muna yung mga questions sa chat. Mabilis lang. Then, I'll show you something else. Okay? So, ang tanong ni Ross, anong plugin ng VS Code gamit mo sa .ts? It's just TypeScript. So, it's just one of those TypeScript extensions. One of these. Actually, baseline na ata siya sa Baseline na ata siya sa VS Code. Question 2, ano yung authentication? So, how does the CDK know na pwede ako mag-deploy at saang AWS account ako mag-deploy, for example? So, yung dinideployan kong ito, kung saan ako nagpapatakbo ng CDK, di ba? That's also where I have logged into the AWS CLI. So, kung ano man yung credential na meron ka ng AWS CLI, yun yung gagamitin ni CDK. So far, so good? Okay. Okay, so balikan ko yung ibang question, Mami, kasi mukhang medyo mas mahabang usapan yung isa pang question. Pero I'll show you something neat. So, marunong na kayo, di ba? Marunong na kayo mag-create ng isang simple app. Sure, the CDK allows you to create stuff on AWS using programming languages like this, na parang object-oriented, parang gumagawa ka lang ng normal na app, di ba? You're just using stacks, apps, constructs, right? Let's step it up a bit. So, ano ngayon? Di ba? So what makes it what makes it nice, right? So, gawin natin. Gusto ko gumawa naman ng isang Lambda function na na nakikipag-usap sa isang DynamoDB table, right? Something simple like that, right? So, let's try that. First thing, gusto kong gumawa ng isang DynamoDB table. So let's make a stack. So, sasabihin ko na meron akong data store stack. Diba? So, data store stack. There we go. Tapos gagawa ko ng isang DynamoDB table. So, paano ko gagamitin yung DynamoDB table? Again, andito lang sa core library. So, pwede kong sabihin na import as DynamoDB from AWS CDK Live. Hanapin ko lang yung DynamoDB dyan. Andun na siya. Right? So, create a DynamoDB table. Easy. Parang pinakita ko rin kanina. So, what you have to do? Table. Again, sino yung stack? Sino yung parent niya? Bigyan mo ng pangalan to, like an ID, my database table, and voila. Diba? Ngayon, nagre-reklamo yung code ko ngayon kasi unlike yung S3 bucket kanina, yung DynamoDB table, meron siyang required configuration na hindi niya pwedeng gawin para sa akin. Yung sub S3 bucket kasi kaya niyang gumawa for me. Meron siyang required dito kaya siya namumula. Kaya siya meron pulang underline. So ang sinasabi niya is may nawawala kang configuration. Sinasabi niya nawawala yung partition key. Right? Kung hindi niyo alam, sa DynamoDB, ang partition key is yung primary key. So if you're familiar with SQL or Postgres, MySQL, partition key yung parang primary key ng isang ng table. So you have to give that. Kumbaga, sinasabi ni DynamoDB, hindi ko yan kayang hulaan para sa iyo. So, ganun lang. Bibigyan mo lang siya ng partition key. Sabihin ko ang partition key ko, ang pangalan niya is UUID. Kunwari lang, di ba? Tapos, it is a string. So, kung papansin niyo yung CDK din, meron lang siyang mga built-in constants na ganito na just makes your life easier. Mga bagay na parati naman ginagamit is, kunwari, ano yung data type na string sa DynamoDB? You don't have to remember that anymore kasi nasa CDK na mismo. A lot of it are represented as constants dyan. So ngayon, meron akong table. Okay? Easy enough? Gawa naman tayo ng isang stack for the Lambda. Ay, kahit hindi na, sige, separate stack for the Lambda. Let's call it my function stack. Di ba? Functions stack. So one thing you have to remember, parate, is when you create a stack, if you plan to deploy it, kailangan nandito siya sa entry point. So let's do that now. Baka makalimutan natin mamaya. Data store, stack, function stack. Tapos katulad nitong ginawa natin dito, data store, app, data store stack. Bigyan lang natin ng ID. Function stack. My function stack. Easy-peasy pa, no? So, ganoon lang. App, huwag niyo lang kakalimutan. App, stacks, app, stacks, constructs. Bilisan natin kasi we're running out of time, right? So, what we're gonna do is we can create a Lambda function. So, from here then, as Lambda. Right? Ngayon, one of the nice things then about the CDK is for a lot of common constructs, like kunwari, when I create a Lambda function, hindi lang naman ako gagawa ng Lambda function. pipili ako ng programming language. For example, like when I create a Lambda function, sabihin ko, Node ba yan? .NET ba yan? Python ba yan? Go ba yan? And so on and so forth. Diba? So yung CDK, minsan, meron din siya mga convenience constructs like that. So kung gusto kong gumawa ng isang Lambda function na Node.js, meron na si CDK na constructs for that. So AWS CDK din, Lambda, Node.js. So ito yung mga constructs ng mga Lambda na pre-configured na for Node.js. So hindi ko na kailangan tong una. Right? So gagawa na lang ako ng isang Lambda function. Right? New, Node.js, that's my function. Parang ganyan lang. Di ba? Okay. Wala naman siya pinagkaiba masyado sa ginawa natin kanina. Di ba? Pero if you think about it, ito yung importante dito. If you want to create a Lambda function na kayang makipag-usap sa isang DynamoDB table, anong kailangan mong gawin? You have to make sure na your Lambda function has permissions to talk to the DynamoDB table. Diba? So how do you do that? Kung gagawin mo yun sa AWS console, pupunta ka pa sa IAM, gagawa ka ng permissions, and so on and so forth. Right? In the CDK, it's much, much easier. So if I want to give this function permissions to write to the table, dito pumapasok yung programming aspect ng CDK. I can do, kailangan paabutin, kumbaga, kailangan ko paabutin dito kay function yung table. Itong table na ginawa natin kanina, kailangan ko paabutin dito sa kabilang stack. Right? So how do I do that? Object-oriented lang. So we have a class. We can create a field on that class. Diba? Tapos we can say na this table is that DDB table. So pagdating dito kay itong data store stack, magkakaroon siya ng isang field na table, which is that table. On the other end of the spectrum, on the other side of this thing, pwede kang magsabi dito ng properties naman. So pwede ko sabihin na, ito medyo mahabang typing. Sorry. Pwede ko sabihin na functions, gagawa lang ako ng isang properties, ha? Pwede kong sabihin na itong stack na to, nag-e-expect ng props na ganyan. So, nag-e-expect siya ng configuration, kumbaga, yung function stack. Now, what I can do is one last thing, right? Dadalhin ko lang yung DynamoDB table ulit dito. So, sabihin ko sa kanya na itong function stack, nag-expect siya ng isang table. Kailangan mong bigyan siya ng isang table. Ngayon, dito sa entry point, nakikita mo nagre-reklamo siyang ganyan. Kasi, I can do this now. Kasi, programming lang siya, right? So, gumagawa ko ng isang data store stack. I'll save that to a variable. Yung function stack, pwede ko sabihin na yung table mo is yung table na ginawa natin dun sa kabilang stack. Just like programming, just like any kind of programming. So pwede kong gawin na para meron ako data store stack, meron siya table sa loob, ine-expose niya, minimake available niya, pwede kong gamitin yun somewhere else, like function stack. So easily, I can do like const handler, right? I can do props table. Ito na yung DynamoDB table natin kanina, di ba? I can say grant permissions, grant right to this handler, right? And yun na yan. And what the CDK will do is, number one, gagawa siya ng isang DynamoDB table, gagawa siya ng Lambda function, and it will make sure na that Lambda function has exactly the right permissions para magamit yung DynamoDB table, para makapag-write siya ng data to that DynamoDB table, and that DynamoDB table only, right? So you will have the right permissions. hindi ko na i-deploy ito kasi kulang na tayo sa oras. Pero that's if you can imagine from there, that's really where the real power of the CDK comes from. Kasi kaya mong i-program, kaya mong i-model directly yung AWS account mo, yung mga laman ng AWS account mo, yung systems mo in your AWS account as objects in your programming language of choice. Right? So if you can imagine, yung mga pinapakita kong architecture sa inyo kanina, all of those are just little objects that are organized in stacks like these that are, organized in some way through the CDK like this. Like yung pinapakita ko na nagli-link-link lang yung mga bagay-bagay na ganito. Tapos the CDK keeps track of everything for you. Right? So, that's really the gist of the CDK. And I'm sure I can talk all day about what you can do to the CDK. I haven't even shown you paano ka mag-test. Like, how do you do unit testing? How do you do CI/CD? How do you do continuous deployment? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you create your own constructs? So on and so forth, right? If you want to read more about how you can use the CDK, we have a dedicated CDK portal on that link. So, ang pinaka-importante sa akin, I use the CDK daily in my line of work. Parati kong ginagamit yan. Ang pinaka-importante sa akin are these two things over here. When you go to this link, there's a developer guide and there's a construct library API reference. Haba nun ba? So, construct API reference looks like this. Papakita ko lang mabilis. So, lahat ng pinapakita ko kanina na library, S3, DynamoDB, lahat sila nandito. So, for example, if we go to DynamoDB, ayan siya, dito yung table na ginamit natin kanina. Click ko lang. This is how you use a CDK DynamoDB table, and so on and so forth. So, everything you can do with a CDK nandiyan. It's very, very useful if you wanna get started on it. Lastly, as always, we have this portal for AWS Skill Builder. If you want to learn more about technology in general, different specific kinds of fields, we have a lot of different courses, self-paced courses over on this link. So I'm sure it will be a lot of help. Okay. That's all the time I think I have. Thank you very much for your time. Do we have time for questions?
Of course we do. But first, we would like to thank you, Sir Richard, for that wonderful talk and demonstration. We surely learned a lot, like stacks, S3 buckets, Lambda functions, and many, many more. So, all right, guys, while waiting for the questions, I will first happily announce that we have done it again. We reached 230 Zoom participants and 52 FB Live viewers, thus breaking another record. Let's go! Yeah, so thank you guys so much again. And we couldn't have done it without you. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions for our speaker tonight. And so ask away. So the first question is from Sir Joffrey. So what tutorials can you suggest for beginners? Thank you, sir. So I guess, besides the links you have given us earlier, what tutorials can you suggest for beginners? Or yun na yun, sir,
I think that's a very wide question kasi the tutorials kasi really ano yung interesado kang matutunan. 'Di ba? For a lot of the people that are just getting started with the cloud. Now, wala pa masyadong idea what you can do. I really recommend going through the cloud practitioner course. Like parang just to see what does the cloud have to offer? What can you do in the cloud? Because once you're there, once you have a better idea, maybe you can look into specializing somewhere, right?
All right.
So
thank you.
That's where you start.
All right. Thank you, sir. Another question from Sir Sherwin. Kanina pa, sir, nung kakasimula niyo lang po. So, architecture po ba, kasabay na yung costing or different field pa yun?
Yes. So, parte ng pagiging architect or solution architect is you have to keep in mind costs, right? At least the solutions architects sa AWS, we abide by this. Actually, try ko pakita sa inyo, diba? We abide by these principles called the well-architectured principles. I don't know if you've heard of that. Let's see. There we go. So lahat ng architects sa AWS, we abide by the well-architected principles. and it's made up of 6 pillars. So for any design that we make, kailangan parating ganun. Hindi sapat na secure siya, hindi sapat na reliable siya, and so on and so forth. Kailangan, it's also cost effective. Hindi ka basta-basta lang gumagamit ng service dahil pwede, right? You have to be using the right services. Definitely. So it's right there if you want to read more about it. AWS well architected.
All right, thank you, sir. Another one is paano ang authentication ng user mo sa AWS during creation or deployment by Sir?
Yep, exactly. So yun yung ano dito. So if you're working with the CDK, di ba, you're normally using the terminal, ginagamit lang niya yung credentials na ginagamit mo rin for the AWS CLI. So if you're logged in using the AWS CLI, you can check that with this command. For example, yun. So expired yung ano ko. So that's how it knows what credentials you can use.
All right. Last 2 questions, sir. Another one, speaking of deployment, is there a way to test the code without deploying it by Sir Alwin?
Yes, absolutely. Kasi code siya, right? So that's actually one of the nice things about it. Dahil code siya, you can test it just like how you test your own code. So if, for example, sanay na kayo with using something like Jest, right? Unit test your code. It's no different from that because it's code. You can you can test it just like any other code.
All right. And then last question from Sir Ross again. Since yung CTK is deployed as cloud formation stack, if I delete the stack, will this delete all the resources too?
Yes. So if we actually go to AWS CDK, di ba? Ginagawa ko CDK deploy like this. You can do CDK destroy and it will delete everything na ginawa mo. So it's a very, very good cleanup.
Okay.
Sorry, just one last thing. Do sa testing. If you're interested in doing testing, meron akong pinublish sa AWS samples Git repo on how you can do unit testing on the AWS CDK. So meron siyang unit testing strategies for how to test the CDK, how to test Lambda functions na nasa loob ng CDK, and so on and so forth. So that's right there. It's very comprehensive if you want to take a look at how I do that. I publish that on GitHub under this repository.
All right. Last question, a little bit unrelated, but we would really love to know your team sa VS Code. Like, what do you use? Because it's really pleasing to the eyes. And we love this is a question by Sir Kemp.
So, yung theme na to, ginagamit ko lang for workshops actually. It's called LaserWave.
LaserWave, all right.
LaserWave, right. Ang ginagamit ko kadalasan for when I work is called Shield. Ganito lang itsura niya. Less colors lang para mas mabilis magbasa. Pero if you like the LaserWave, that's what it looks like.
Alright, that's it for our question and answer portion. If you have more questions, you may reach out to him on his social media platforms. Regarding, will you let us know where to contact you, or do you have any upcoming activities that you want us to know?
Right there. We have a lot of activities coming up with the CIS, for example. One very notable activity I want to share is I think we are still looking for cohorts for the next batch of AWS TechU. So if you don't know, AWS TechU is a program where recent graduates or early career professionals, yung mga kasisimula pa lang magtrabaho o magtatrabaho pa lang, we go through focused 6 months training, 6 months training sa AWS, and then 6 months kind of a quote-unquote internship on AWS to train you to become either a solutions architect, a ProServe consultant, or a technical trainer. So if you're interested in doing that, then hanapin niyo lang sa like AWS TechU.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Carding. We hope to see you here as a speaker again next time. You may, close your mic, stop your screen sharing, and thank you so much. And of course, along with the Community Ignite series, we also have more opportunities for free learning for you. We have a lot of events that will suit your interest and fit the skills you want to learn. Now, are you ready for our upcoming events? Let's go. So, are you ready for the AWS Restart program here in the Philippines? So, today, Education PH is glad to be a part of the AWS Restart program in the Philippines. So, ano nga ba ito, no? So, it is a 12-week virtual training program that covers fundamental AWS cloud skills as well as practical career skills, such as interviewing resume writing and interviewing with someone else. It is also to help individuals prepare for entry level cloud roles. So this program helps prepare unemployed and underemployed individuals for new careers in technology through scenario based exercises, labs, and coursework about Linux, Python, networking, security, and relational database skills. So with this, we are inviting you guys to enroll on this free AWS Restart program. You can apply on or before malapit na guys, March 6, 2022 at go.education.ph/AWS restart. Now, we also have a challenge for you brought to you by Accenture Philippines and AWS Cloud Filipinas. We are inviting you to sign up for a Tech Explore Innovation Challenge. And here's a question for you. So, how might we use technologies like Amazon Web Services to help achieve any one of the following UN Sustainable Development Goals? And we can't wait for what you have as an answer. So, for more details about the challenge, please visit the link right here. At ito pa, are you interested in earning as you level up as a developer through quests and tasks? So Angel Hack is proud to share that they will be partnering with StackUp to bring you an exclusive peek at their latest Learn and Earn platform. So you can earn more than $500 as you tackle learning quests and follow guided bite-sized learning pathways. Ooh, ayan. So, kickstart your journey in learning about the latest technologies in Web 3.0 and programming, including basics of blockchain, smart contract writing, prototyping your first decentralized app, introductory quest to Rust, and introductory quest to Python. So, ready to get started? Here's how to join. Step 1, you have to join StockUp Early Access Discord server. Step 2, you have to head over to app.stockup.dev. Steps 3, you have to click sign up and enter PHL1019 as your early access code. And then after that, you have to create an account. And after that, you are all set. So let me just put this in the chat box right there. So yeah, join StackUp as a player and you may start learning and earning as you learn. Ayan, we have another one for you guys. Marami pa. But this time, it's for the International Women's Month. Brought to you by AWS Build Hers Plus. It's a month-long celebration by helping women level up their cloud skills through mentoring. So to our pretty ladies tonight, save the following dates. We'll be having Certified Cloud Practitioner Coffee Sessions and Solution Architect Associate Coffee Sessions on March 6, 13, 20, and 27. Again, that's every Sunday of the month. So March 6, 13, 20, and 27. So the CCP will be from 1 to 3 p.m. followed by SAA coffee chats from 3 to 5 p.m. See you there. And also, ayan, hindi pa tapos, there will also be a study group for the Cloud Practitioner Certification Exam by AWS User Group Philippines. It is all for free, but it has limited slots. So you have to reserve your slot for this 3-week study group. It will be happening from March 13 to 27. And for more information, you may ask or go to AWS User Group Philippines. I will send the invite link in the chat. There you go. So as you can see, we have partnered with a lot of tech communities and conduct events that will really cater your field of interest. So sali na kayo guys and don't miss it. At ito pa, before I tell you guys all about the feedback form and certificate, I am inviting you to our events naman this March. Next week, we're gonna have automated vulnerability management on AWS with Amazon Inspector. After that, we're gonna have our 30-second episode. And on March 19, we're gonna have tech event by Pete Zapay, Vos Comprenes, ML and LLP for Dummies, followed by PWA event. And then we're gonna have our Building a Secure AWS Foundation on March 24. And then we're gonna have our last CIS episode for the month, which is CIS 34. Ayan, ang daming events na super bongga and exciting. Yes, meron pa upcoming webinar. Again, this is every Thursday. And you can check all about it on our social media accounts. So make sure to follow our Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok to stay updated. Again, search nyo lang AWS Club Pilipinas or scan the QR code flashed on the screen. There you go. And at yun na nga, let us move on to our top attendee award. Ayan, ako na-spoil na tayo. So the winner for the February Top Attendee Award will not only receive an AWS credit worth $20, but also an AWS UD shirt. Yeah, may shirt na siya. So congratulations to Ellie Ralph Rosael. Are you here? Congratulations. So he was able to attend, I think, 17 or I think 20 na Community Ignite series episodes. Tuloy-tuloy po yan. Now, sino kaya ang top attendee natin for March? At paano nga ba mag-join? Gatong kadali lang, guys. Paano nga ba maging top CIS attendee natin, no? So we will be choosing the top attendee of the month and the winner will receive, again, no, AWS credits worth $20. So compile nyo lang lahat ng mga e-certificates nyo and post it with the hashtag EducationPH and hashtag AWSC Club Pilipinas any day on the month. And don't forget to tag us on the post. Congrats again, Ellie. Ayan, nakita ko na ang chat ni Ellie. Claim nyo na. Post nyo na yung mga e-certs nyo. And then again, grabe, I have learned a lot from this 1-hour tech-driven webinar. Thank you so much again, Sir Carding Ilagan. And we hope that you learned a lot in this episode. Now, I want to take this opportunity to invite you all in a photo op. So, open cam naman kayo dyan. This is actually the most paborito kong part ng event kasi I get to see all of you here. Ayan, hi Atcha. Ayan, if gusto niyo na picture with Atcha, nako, famous na famous pa naman yan. Mag-open na kayo ng cam. Alright. Ayan, hello, Giselle, John, Joverdan, Ronaline, Ferdinand, Uy, Richmond, and everyone else. Alright, in 5 seconds, I will be saying cheese. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, let's do another one. Ayan, may nakisama na kayo.
Si Kuya Carding.
Ay, oo nga, sir, oo nga. Sir Richard, open naman ng cam. Ayan. Isa pa with Sir Richard. This time, just ayan, o kaya do the pogi post with Joe Vernon.
Next time gumawa tayo ng post.
Oo nga. Pag may suggestions kayo ng Hansen, ganon. O kaya yung kasama ni Joe Vernon na kumakaway over there. Ayan, smile na tayo. 3, 2, 1. Alright, that wraps up the 30th episode of the Community Ignite series, Improving DevOps with Infrastructure as Code, Getting Started with AWS CDK. We would love to hear your feedback. At ito na nga ang mga pinaka-iniintay ng most of us is our feedback form. Please go to go.education.ph/CIS30feedback. Again, no, that's go.education.ph/CAS30feedback. Please make sure to provide a correct email address. Ulitin nyo yan, guys, para makuha nyo yung e-certificate, okay? And again, thank you guys sa pagsubaybay sa amin. And I'm excited to see you all next week. Don't forget to also join the C-Club community. We have a lot in store for you. And that's all because of our co-presenters. Thank you, AWS and AWS C-Club Pilipinas. And yan. Once again, thank you, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Woohoo! Bye, guys!
Are you a leader in DevOps, experienced with simplifying and accelerating development and operations with AWS? Build credibility and increase trust with a professional-level credential from AWS. Earning an AWS Certified DevOps Engineer Professional certification validates your expertise in automating testing, deployment, and monitoring. Highlight your skills with the high-velocity deliveries your team wants so you can better serve customers and compete more effectively in the market. AWS Certified. Build with confidence, competence, and credibility.